This podcast is a quest for well-being, a quest for a meaningful life through the exploration of fundamental truth. Enlightening ideas, insights on physical, mental, and spiritual health. The inspiration is love. The aspiration is to awaken new ways of thinking that can lead us to a new way of being well. Welcome to Body, Mind, and Soul Healing Conversations.
Valeria interviews Tina Zion. Tina is a fourth-generation psychic medium and specializes in teaching medical intuition and mediumship. She has taught her medical intuition workshop in Australia, New Zealand, UK, Europe, Canada, Mexico, and throughout the USA. Both of her medical intuitive books have won first-place awards. Become a Medical Intuitive won first-place gold from the Body, Mind, Spirit Book Awards in 2019, and Advanced Medical Intuition won the 2020 COVR Visionary Award. Tina is a faculty member at the Omega Institute of Holistic Studies in New York, 1440 Multiversity in California, and Fellowships of the Spirit in New York. She is a registered nurse, graduating from Purdue University, and holds a National Board Specialty Certification in Mental Health Nursing from the American Nurses Credentialing Association. Tina is a Gestalt-trained mental health counselor, graduating from the Indianapolis Gestalt Institute in 1997. She received her certification in clinical hypnotherapy from the American Council of Hypnotist Examiners in 1985, specializing in past life regressions, and certified through the Michael Newton Institute in Life Between Lives Regression. She studied Reiki since 1991 and has taught hundreds of students over the years. Tina is a worldwide best-selling author of 4 books: Become a Medical Intuitive, The Complete Developmental Course, Advanced Medical Intuition, 6 Underlying Causes of Illness and Unique Healing Methods, The Reiki Teacher's Manual, and Reiki and Your Intuition, a union of healing and wisdom. She is also a contributing author in Michael Newton's book, Memories of the Afterlife. Tina's current private practice now focuses completely on teaching intuition and specializing in medical intuitive instruction. She now teaches all over the world as well as offering individual mentoring sessions. Reach out to Tina to see her workshop schedule or to arrange a personal mentoring session at tinazion.com. Here is the interview with Tina Zion.
In your own words, who is Tina Zion?
Let's see, I would say that I am a soul who is experiencing a physical life like we all are here listening. And I want to become, as a soul, the most expanded and the most aware that I possibly can be. And so I guess I would say it that way.
Before we talk about some of the topics in your book, Become a Medical Intuitive, the Complete Developmental Course, I have a few warm-up questions, as I mentioned, off record. What is life, Tina? What is life to you?
Life is all about learning. It's all about learning from our experiences. It's all about advancing in our awareness. It's all about learning from all experiences, no matter if we measure them as negative or positive. It's about learning about mostly learning about ourselves.
And I do have some questions about that for later. For now, let me ask you 2 more questions about life. What do you think is the opposite of life?
Well, living without awareness. And actually, the word zombie came up. And what that always means to me, even though it's in movies and, crazy stuff, it means living very unconsciously, without deliberation, without realizing our own empowerment as an individual. So I guess that's how I would answer that one. That's a wonderful question. I really like that.
What do you think is the ultimate purpose of the human experience?
The human experience tends to be very emotional, probably more emotional than thoughtful very frequently. And so my hope as an instructor and teacher about this, that not only do I want this for myself, but I hope this for others, is to be literally more thoughtful about our thoughts and to actually notice that our emotions are the power underneath our thoughts, and it can either be a low energy power or it can be a very high vibrational power. But it has so much to do with thought and emotion and what we do with that.
That's an interesting perspective. I'm wondering if there's a difference between feelings and emotions from your perspective.
Feelings are more, I would say, literally intuitive, that feelings are noticing the sensations as we go through life, where emotions are that power. And it's either a very positive power or a mediocre power or a weak power or a negative power.
Do you think it's possible to navigate this reality with our emotions?
No, because emotions are not negative. They're very important, and it is part of our learning. It's what we do with the emotions which counts. I think just as equal as our thoughts. They merge together.
So you're just becoming more aware of our emotions, of that energetic power.
Yes. And is it working positively for us? Is it interfering? Is it making us ill?
True.
And, in the sense of medical intuition, is it leading to illness, or is it empowering ourselves?
You inspired me to ask you a question about what do you do. So do you believe that emotions are the cause of most of our illnesses?
I teach medical intuition, how to do medical intuition all over the place. And a physician was attending my course, as many do, came up to me at break and he says, "I think there is emotion under every illness." And I said, absolutely. And that's where we're going in this workshop, is that emotion will lead to our enhanced wellness, or it will tend to congregate in certain areas of our body and make us more ill.
It is possible to have a negative emotion in our bodies, but not become aware of them?
Oh, yes, absolutely. In fact, so many people struggle to even be aware that they have anger. And there aren't, emotions are not wrong, but some emotions like shame, guilt, unresolved grief, things like that have an extremely low and sluggish vibration. And so they tend, because of that slowness, they tend to become more physical in nature, and that will tend to congregate more readily in our physical body to make us ill.
Last year, I interviewed Bradley Nelson. That was the first time that I was introduced to this idea, with this field of emotions and how they affect us. I was amazed by. But it's interesting, we know these things, but I'm wondering why so many of us don't do something about it, don't try to heal those emotions.
I would say that what people generally struggle about is realizing how powerful and in charge they could be. And I think that is the struggle underneath this is people feel helpless. They have felt like they're a victim. They don't realize that truly we are in charge of our thoughts, our emotions, our experiences, our responses. And I would say it's one of the primary things that I speak about and love to speak about is how empowered we are. But I'm telling you, there's so many people that they have no idea. They have no idea.
So, what is intuition?
Intuition is literally simply information. And to be intuitive is literally simply noticing the information as it comes to us. I would really boil it down to that. It's information. And we, right now, as you and I sit here talking, we are breathing information. We are sitting in information. The space around us is not empty. It's full of information. So it's just a matter of noticing it and receiving it and allowing it to guide you. So that's how I would describe it.
Do you distinguish intuition from mental activity or day-to-day thoughts or even imagination?
Intuition will never, ever, ever, ever stop feeling like it's our imagination. It will never stop feeling that way because I have seen and experienced deceased people since I can remember, since I was a tiny child, and it still feels just as imaginative. And it's very much a part of what I do still, but it will never stop doing that. And I can't tell you how many people have said that made all the difference in the world for them because they always thought, oh, I just dreamed that up. And really, it will never stop feeling like that. And the difference between intuition and our thinking mind, our thinking mind is always trying to sort things out. It's always trying to figure things out. And intuition is never trying to figure it out. So when we're thinking, we will go, oh, I should do that. Oh, I better not. Well, if I do that, it'll be okay. Oh, maybe it won't be okay. It'll be winging around all over the place. But intuition will always say exactly the same piece of information and it will never fluctuate. So if you're trying to make a decision or if there is an issue or a struggle in your life, when your thoughts are flying around all over the place, well, that's your thinking mind. But underneath that will be a quiet, consistent piece of information that never fluctuates about the issue.
I'm wondering about also dreams. Could the intuition communicate through dreams?
Yes, and what I would want the listeners to notice for themselves about dreams is intuition will tend to come even more in our dreams, and especially our deceased loved ones will come in more often in our dreams when we are not paying close attention in our waking time. Spirit or our deceased relatives will tend to utilize the dream time because our thinking mind isn't in the way. And so they can actually, send us signals, messages, and things like that much more readily is what I have found over the years. Because our thinking mind, is not so busy. It's not so active, so it's not getting in the way.
And I have two questions. The next ones that relate to being a female in a human body. What do you love most about being a woman?
Wow. Now that question I did not expect. I have experienced, as we all have, past lives of male and female. So to me, it is like a different angle, coming from a different direction to experience life as a female and then to experience it as a male. I have loved it in that, at least in my personal experience, it has brought me a gentleness, I think. It's brought me a gentleness in understanding other people. It's never gotten in the way. I've never experienced that it's gotten in my way at all. And I've not wished, I was a male. But for some reason, I'm coming that it's brought me a gentleness in this life anyway.
What is the most challenging aspect about being a woman from your perspective?
Gosh, I don't know. I'm literally blank about the challenges of it because I've not experienced that it's been a challenge really in any way. It feels very equal to me, and I've always felt very equal in the world with males. So in a challenge in particular, nothing's coming to mind.
That's an interesting answer. Yeah, that's refreshing. What is the meaning of freedom to you, Tina? What is to be liberated?
See, I just take, when you ask me these questions, I literally take the leap of thought. I take what literally pops into my mind. And the liberation is, for me, is not to be confined or pushed down or burdened with those heavy emotions. That I go into anything that might be a heavy emotion, I explore it in my own personal life. I help other people explore theirs rather than trying to tamp it down, box it away, put it aside. I say, no, let's check it out. Let's get to know more about it. And it has a great deal to do with healing, because how I would say what healing is, if I could simplify it to the bare bones, would be release of burdens, release of the emotions that are burdensome. That's kind of my long answer to that.
So another question came to mind about heavy emotions, negative emotions. How do we explore those emotions? You used the word exploration. How do we even begin? Because sometimes they can be very painful.
Underneath all physical pain that we have as human beings, there's always emotional pain. And the two are not separate. And I call them heavy emotions or negative emotions because they literally, the vibrational frequency is slow and thick, and it tends to be kind of sticky, where when we are feeling love and joy, happiness, and even bliss, it's a very fine light, very fast frequency that permeates our entire body. And that's why it brings us so much health, where the density of those other emotions tend to congregate. And so to say a little bit more about that, sometimes someone might say that they are suffering in so much grief because of the loss of their loved one. And I'll say, well, where do you notice that in your physical body? And they'll say, well, I don't know how to do that. And I'll say, oh, sure, just slow down and just take your time and just check around. And they might say, I'm just making this up right now, but they might say, well, it feels like a huge stone in my chest or a huge rock. And I'll say, well, now it's going to feel like your imagination, but I want you to just go down and notice the size of the rock. Notice the shape of it. I want you to walk all around it and see the texture and the color. And I do this much more slowly with the person than I'm saying it right now, because I want them to notice each one of those things about it, because they're literally exploring the emotion that has become so dense and heavy, and they have discovered the location of it too. So it's really about checking it out in a deeper way. And then my goal is to eventually, when they notice all these things, ask the rock what it needs to heal. And they always will get an answer. They will always get an answer. And everyone's answer is different because we're such individuals. But
my next question is about the current situation. At this time, what do you think is the world's greatest need?
Well, you calling something the current situation could be all kinds of things. But the world always needs we always need to realize that we are a soul, first and foremost. And if we could perceive everyone around us as a soul as well, and where is that soul at in their development, and how that soul is learning in a different way than what we are, and to embrace and love our diversity. And we could do that more and more if we realize that we are an eternal soul right here, right this minute. And if we look out of our soul eyes into all the people around us, instead of seeing what they have on or their color of their skin or their personality, to perceive them as an eternal soul, it brings a whole different awareness to life going on around us, no matter what the primary issues are at the time.
What is love to you, Tina?
You have the greatest questions. Love is that sensation, that vibration. It's an electrical surge of energy, very fine, very light, that permeates everything because it is so fine and so light. And it is literally can come to us more and more when we look out of the eyes of our own soul and not out of our personality or who we are, what we do for a living and things like that. It's what can constantly be in our life every day and every minute if we understand the world around us as a soul. In fact, even the soul of the earth is part of each of us being a soul on the earth.
That brings me to another question about the soul, because I'm wondering, like you said, eternal, so there's no ending.
I don't think, some people will tell me because I mentor people to achieve their intuitive skills and in their awareness. And sometimes they say to me, well, I can't be a healer for other people until I'm completely healed. And here's what I would say to that. We are never a finished product. And at least in my experience, we're never a finished product. We don't end up at the end of the assembly line all complete. And, it's an advancement. It's a beautiful process if we allow it to be beautiful.
I love that, the way you say it, if we allow it to be beautiful.
Yes, it is an allowing, yes.
Yeah, I agree. What is your understanding and idea of inner peace?
Everything is energy, and I do mean everything. And so inner peace is an alive human being. It is that release of wanting constantly. It's that release of hoping everybody changes. It's that peaceful place of experiencing the world as it is and understanding it as it's evolving too. And that brings me a great deal of peace, a great deal.
Yeah. Do you ever use the word God?
Oh, yes. I'm very fine with the word God or source, or yes, I'm fine with that. Some of my clients have not been, but it is a word is simply a vibrational spurt as well. When we think words, each word has a frequency to it. And then when we string words together, the sentence has its own frequency to it. So the word God is absolutely fine with me. I'm not sure if that's what you meant, but
I think for some people, as you said, they choose not to use the word God because it is attached to dogmas and religious beliefs.
Yes, yes. Well, I said the word holy to a client, not too long ago. And she said, I have a struggle with that word. Mm-hmm. So it's not just the word God, but right. but it also, if we're triggered by a word, that always really says there's more to do, more to explore, that we are triggered emotionally by something. A word or an event or whatever.
Yeah, or anything.
Or anything, yeah.
So true. So how did you become a writer, Tina?
My brother asked me a similar question. He said, how do you write a book? I felt this urge it began actually because I've written 4 books now and I'm working on my 5th at the moment. But the first one was about Reiki. And I felt the urge to help people with their struggles. And so many people were struggling with how to do Reiki, how to experience it. They became fearful because it opened up their intuition and they didn't understand what was happening. And so that really is what prompted all of my books, was sensing people's struggles. And it's my attempt to bring some guidance, because I really don't write my books. I turn it over to my professors, and so much of it is written for me. I'm just typing the computer out for it.
So your book, Become a Medical Intuitive, did you set in an intention when you wrote that book?
My intention is to help people to learn that the non-physical world exists, number one, and that the true balance in life, in my opinion, my humble opinion, is the true balance in life is to literally live with one foot in the physical and one foot in the non-physical at the exact same time, because then it is a true blending of our experience. And that's, everybody's saying, oh, bring balance into your life. Well, to me, the true balance is a foot in the physical and the non-physical at the exact same time. And then I also wanted to help people to help other people, because I felt, well, there's only one of me, but if I teach other people how to do medical intuition and how to notice their intuition in general, then there's a domino effect. Then I will be able to touch and help more people if I teach people how to do this. And then they can go out and create that domino effect all over the place, hopefully.
Yeah, that's a wonderful mission, wonderful vision.
Mm-hmm.
So what is medical intuition and mediumship? And also, how did you discover you were a medical intuitive? Or how did you discover your medical intuitive abilities, per se?
Mm-hmm. Well, the general intuitive part really began in our childhood, because we, before the age of 6 or 7, we are very, very intuitive. And the more acclimated we get in life to the physical world, we tend to lose track of it. But in my family, we were expected to be intuitive. And so it was never tamped down, or we were never told you're wrong. There was no classes in it or anything. It was just you were expected to be intuitive. It was very natural if you saw your deceased grandmother, and everyone, would ask you, okay, what'd she say? What did she have on today, or something like that. So that part was very, very, very natural. And then, when I was, I don't know how old I was, but maybe in my 40s, I was giving a lot of Reiki to people. I was doing Reiki sessions, and I realized suddenly that I was looking inside of people's bodies. And that's really how the medical aspect of it began. And so I started to tell people, I said, well, I got some intuitive information during the Reiki session. Do you want to hear it? And no one ever said no. That they would, oh, yes, tell me everything. And so I would. And that's really how it started. And people were asking me, well, how are you so accurate? And I said, I don't know. I'd always say, I don't know. And I got to thinking, well, now wait a minute. This is really helpful for people. How am I doing this? And so I started taking notes, and I examined myself and explored myself for, probably 7 or 8 months. And just someone would leave, and I'd say, okay, now I noticed this happened, this happened, this happened. I'd write it down, and that led to Become a Medical Intuitive. That's really how that book happened, because I thought, no, people need to realize they can help people in a multifaceted way. So one of the things that's different, I guess, what I teach and talk about is I want to give accurate information, but when I was doing readings, my goal was to take it to a profound healing in some way.
Do you think anyone can become a medical intuitive?
Yes. In fact, we're wired to be intuitive. We humans are made to be intuitive, and to actually do this for other people. Not everybody wants to do that. So if people have a sense that, oh, I want to help people at this level, if they have a passion for it, then that's the direction that they should take it. But everybody's wired to be intuitive. They simply blow it off. They don't recognize it as intuition. They don't believe themselves. They don't trust themselves. But we're all made to be intuitive. That's like the caveman before he walks out of the cave, checks his intuitions. Is there a saber-toothed tiger out there that's going to get me? We're truly, naturally made and wired to be intuitive. It's what direction you want to go with it.
Yeah, I love what you said about trust. So there's a lot to do with trusting oneself.
It has everything to do with the trust, everything, because people, they don't realize how powerful they are, and so they don't trust themselves. And when we trust ourselves, we're really acknowledging, oh, wait a minute, I really have these abilities. Wait a minute, I'm really doing this. This is accurate in my own personal life. I can be accurate for other people. It's all about trusting it.
I love the subject of trust.
Do you?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, it's similar to faith in a way, although I don't use that word. We have an idea, like you call it, intuition, imagination, but we don't know for sure. The mind cannot get hold of that information and say, I know for sure.
Well, one of the ways to learn to trust is if a piece of information actually pops in, leaps in, jumps into our awareness, I always trust it with absolute. I absolutely trust it because it was not my thinking mind. If it popped in some way, shape, or form, if it popped, I trust it without question.
Let me ask you this question then. Do you think that intuition, that this thought we have, or that we call it intuition, and we follow because we trust, as you just said, could that be even something negative, asking us to do something that is not loving?
If it is not loving, it is not intuition. It is interference. Could be interference from a deceased person hanging around you. It could be interference from living people around you, pushing negative thoughts at you. So that's really how I would say that the truth of intuition is that it will never be about harm for yourself or someone else. It will never take from someone else either. So that's how I'd answer that.
If it's not love, it's not intuition. It's not coming from the right source.
Yep.
Great to know. So for a moment, Tina, talk to me about the history of medical intuition.
Medical intuition is probably a new term that's actually Norm Shealy. I heard him speak, and he said that he feels like he coined that term and started that phrase. But medical intuition has been going on throughout humanity, throughout time, because that's what the shamans in the native cultures are doing. They are working with intuition. They're working with energy fields. So it's been ongoing. It is the oldest thing around, actually, the oldest healing around. It's not a new thing at all. Probably the term medical intuition is more recent, but the process of energetically healing is certainly not new.
You talk in your book about the 3 primary causes for failing as medical intuitive, and you speak of fear, emotions, and then expectations too. Would you like to add to these 3 points, of these 3 causes?
Well, yeah, especially expectations, because people are receiving, even if they don't think they have an intuitive bone in their body, they are constantly receiving information and constantly receiving intuitive information, but they don't recognize it as intuition. They simply do not categorize it in that way. So they don't even realize, and that's one of the things that I discuss a lot with people is they will say, well, this happened. And I'll say, well, do you realize that that was intuition that you just received? And a lot of it is synchronicity in life. Right now, I'm writing about synchronicity in my book I'm working on right now, that synchronicity is not magical. It's not magic. It feels magical, but it's not magic. It's literally the world around us, the universe, coming into sync and giving us all kinds of messages, all kinds of signals, all kinds of direction. So people that will say they're not intuitive, they truly do not recognize what it is. They don't expect it. So a lot of people will tell me they can't do mediumship because they don't see the deceased people with their eyes open. And I will say, well, what about in your mind's eye with your eyes closed? And they'll say, well, that's not intuition. And I said, well, apparently I'm pretty good at this. And that's how I receive a great deal of mind information is with my eyes closed, and it's coming in as pictures in my mind's eye. So I would say people struggle the most with expectations and fear. They're terrified. Then other people are terrified that they will see something. So those two really stand out and really get in people's way. They want it so much, and then at the same second, they're terrified that they are going to experience something or see something, and yet they're yearning for it at the same time. It's very interesting.
And that makes me think about this communication between the unknown, let's say, the spirits, deceased people, they're trying to communicate with us. I'm wondering why they're trying to communicate. There are different reasons, Tina, for that?
There's lots of reasons. Because they're, first of all, they're real people. They're just as real as you and I are right now. So when a deceased person comes in, just here sitting in my own home, or if they come in during a session that I'm having with an alive person, I simply recognize them as a client who needs or wants something. So they're just as real as we are. So their needs and wants can be as varied as any alive human being can be. So oftentimes they are afraid to cross over into the light because they think they weren't a good enough person. They say, I can't go until I get this message, to my family. It's just uncountable reasons, but basically they need or want something.
Maybe, yeah, don't know exactly why, but I don't like the idea of having them, although I do feel them around me. It might be a belief system that the way I understand this whole mysterious, beautiful experience here is that there's no two, really. Everything's a reflection of what this is.
Well, but you are also noticing that you do have a sense that sometimes someone is there.
Yeah.
Right. So it doesn't mean you have to communicate with them, but again, it's that we are in a non-physical world and a physical world at the exact same time, actually. So to me, it's the most normal way to live.
Yeah. Okay.
It's not two different things. It's not, that exists or this doesn't exist. It's all at the same time.
Yeah, that's helpful. Yes.
Okay.
Very helpful. Thank you, Tina. Yeah, that clarified something in here. I love the essential points you have in your book. You have so many of them. They're so
thank you.
Interesting to me. There's one that you say, worrying about being right is the opposite of intuition. So the idea of being right or wrong, or being right, so that's not the point, really. It's not about being right.
Yeah. I ask people to notice more about the process of receiving the piece of information. And the more you allow and the more you trust, the trusting of it like opens up a huge highway, very clear, cleaned off highway to receive information. So that, again, that trust level opens up the doors to the non-physical world, to spirit, to God, to source, whatever words people are comfortable with.
And you also, one of your essential points, you talk about honesty. So honesty about yourself at this point is crucial. But there's something else that you talk about. Yeah, the pronunciation is aura, the aura. Yeah, talk to me for a moment about that.
Well, because we are very electrical. The human body is very electrical. Even the Western medicine, they are, the tests that they do on humans are based on measuring electricity. So, for example, an EKG, they're measuring the electricity in the heart. An EEG, they're measuring the electricity in the brain. An EMG is measuring the electrical flow in the muscles. When someone has a cardiac arrest, and you'll see on TV, they put the paddles on the person's chest and shoot electricity. It's because we're very electrical. And every time our heart beats, each beat is set off by an electrical spurt. So the aura is literally the electrical aliveness. We can't stay stuffed down underneath our skin. Our skin is not insulation to keep the electricity in a wire going to the lamp. It actually vibrates out in every direction. And the aura is full of information about us because every color is an electrical frequency of information. And our aura changes with every thought we have, with every rush of emotion that we have. So I also, and I've not read this anywhere, but I keep being told that the aura is actually the energy of it is the soul. It is the aliveness, that foreverness that we have. In the aura, a lot of people say, well, I can't see an aura, but if you just practice, with somebody like is singing in a choir or a choir. I'm looking out at the woods behind my house right now, and the aliveness in the trees has an electrical vibration. So even the trees have an aura. It's just the aliveness that doesn't stay inside of the physical body.
Do you help people long distance?
Oh, yes. In fact, I have clients all over the globe and have for quite some time. I no longer, because I'm so busy teaching, when I work with an individual, I am doing what I call mentoring sessions to help them build their own skills. So I no longer, do what most people would consider readings because I'm so busy teaching. But yes, I've clients all over the world. In fact, nearly every day, since I'm not able to travel to different countries for my workshops right now, I'm doing them on, Zoom, like the whole world is on Zoom lately. And so, every day I have clients from all over the place.
I do have a few questions left here, but before I ask you these questions, would you like to add anything or read a passage in your book, Tina?
Oh, what would I like to add? I just love it that more people, especially right now, are telling me that they are slowing down, that they are noticing life in a different way around them. And I think that's one of the things going on in this changing world right now is so many people, apparently they needed to be forced to slow down, but it's bringing such a richness of life in so many ways. And that might not be something that people are talking about, very much.
So a few more questions for you. Let me ask you this one. How do you define success these days? What is to be successful?
I think that is so profoundly individual, that success is a feeling of doing what we were supposed to do in this current life that we're in. And sometimes that's not, getting awards and taking action. Oftentimes it is a very internal process of awareness. So success is very, very individual, I think.
Yes.
Very individual.
True. Do you believe in unconditional self-love?
I hope that that's what everyone is achieving, and at least attempting to achieve. So yes, I think that is the ultimate bottom line goal, is to feel that for ourselves. It's good to practice it with everybody else and to achieve that. But, we're here as individuals. No matter how many people are around us, we are still individual. Even when it's our time to pass and leave this physical body, the room could be full of people, but it's still a very individual process, a individual experience. So, and I think it's all about that self-love completely.
What is another word for healing?
I would say it's release.
Release.
It's release of whatever the burden was. The burden could have been trauma, it could have been thoughts, it could be an event, but it's the complete and permanent, I'd use those two words, release of the burden.
2 more questions. If you knew you would die soon, meaning losing the body, would you make any change in your life or do anything differently?
Well, probably my response to that might be surprising. About 3.5 years ago, I was teaching in New Zealand and became very, very ill, and I did have a near-death experience. And I have to tell you, I was in that experience and very much out of my physical body, and the only word for it was I was elated. There was this gentle, blessed happiness, but that doesn't even define it. It was an elation. So it's changed me quite dramatically.
So would you make any change? Would you wake up and do anything differently than you do today?
I would have to say no to that, because I have such a fabulous sensation that I'm on the path I'm supposed to take to expand people's awareness of their own wisdom and the wisdom around them, and how to notice it, receive it, live by it, learn from it. That's what I would say about that.
What are 3 things about life you know for sure as of now?
Well, your questions are so thought-provoking. 3 things that I know for sure is that the people, the earth, the cosmos, the universe is all a living process and living experience. And the wisdom, I know that there is wisdom. And if you allow yourself to notice it and to live with it and live by it, I know that for sure. And I know that the love is a frequency, a vibration that is fine, light, and transforming.
It has been a beautiful experience, this conversation. Thank you so much, Tina, for your peace that emanates through you and your wisdom and everything else in between. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much.
So I have one more technical question. This one, where can we find more information about you, your books, products, services, and future projects?
Well, my website is literally tinazion.com, and my books will be on there, and my recorded workshop and my live workshops and things like that.
Thank you so much again, and we'll talk soon.
Okay, thank you. I hope so.
Yeah, bye for now, Tina.
All right, bye-bye.
Thank you for listening. To learn more about Tina Zion and her work, please visit tinazion.com.
To learn more about this podcast, please visit fitforjoy.org/podcast. I want to thank the Patreon members, Lawrence McGrath, Mark Basden, Terry Clayton, and Aidan Vickrock. Thank you again for listening, and bye for now.